Welcome, Susan. So Susan Murabana, and Susan is based in Kenya, and she's going to tell us about the traveling telescope. The floor is yours, Susan.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm very excited to be presenting today with the Global Hands-on Universe meeting. And just before I start my presentation, I'll just talk a little bit about why I'm excited. And joining me here is Daniel Chu Owen, my husband and business partner, and we are both the founders of the Traveling Telescope. But before I start with that, I just want to give a little history about my connection with Global Hands-on Universe. I joined Global Hands-on Universe in 2006 through an organization, Cosmos Education, that really got me interested in astronomy. And my journey in astronomy was really strengthened through being a member of Global Hands-on Universe. I got a lot of support from many of the members, Dr. Carl Penny Parker, Rosa, Dr. Patrick Miller, and I even visited the US and Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley in 2011. And when I got my visa at the Kenyan embassy, the condition was that I had to come back and bring back the knowledge I was getting from the US to the Kenyan people. So when I returned to Kenya, I wanted to do something that would be more Kenyan and for the Kenyan climate, but still connected to the global space. So just I wanted to acknowledge all the inspiration and hard work from the Global Hands-on Universe community. Without that, I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm doing today. So thank you very much. I think with that, I'll share my screen and start on my presentation, which will be on the traveling telescope. So I hope you can see the screen.
Susan, we can see your slides. I don't know if you can maximize. Yeah, that looks like.
Okay,
right.
fine.
Hang on one second, because it hasn't come through just yet.
It should have done it.
We see your cursor.
Oh, you don't see the...
But nothing else as yet, no.
I think it'll take time just to go. No, it'll take time. Just give it a minute.
Really?
Yeah. Anything now?
No, when you had the PowerPoint open initially, we could see the slides in sort of in kind of edit mode. But I think then when you went to full screen, we just went to a completely black screen with your cursor. Try it again. That's it. There you go. You're good to go.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Welcome.
Came back from the US, and a few years on, I met Chu during an eclipse in Kenya. It was a total eclipse that lasted, hybrid actually, that lasted around 13 seconds. And we had to travel all the way to the northern part of Kenya, which is dry and clear and everything. But anyway, in short, I happened to meet Chu, and a lot happened. We also started the Traveling Telescope. So how do I go to my next slide?
Just click there, yeah.
Okay. So the reason we started the telescope, the Traveling Telescope, is because we knew that the telescope has been around for more than 400 years, and yet so many people haven't had a chance to look through one. So many people haven't had a chance to look through one in Kenya, and we wanted to change that. So this is a picture of us in a rural school in Kenya, and the kid here is looking at the moon, which is crazy. The light is coming from the sun to the moon into his eyes. One of my favorite pictures.
You can even see the moonlight lighting up the background there as well.
So we are a social enterprise, and we're dedicated to promoting science education, and now mostly STEAM with the A, using astronomy. Our main focus is on youth education in the country and neighboring countries, and tourism. Why tourism? Because we are in a country that's right at the equator. Most of our country is very dark, so we have really beautiful dark skies, and we have access to both sides of the sky. And also we think that the tourism side can feed into the education side, which I'll talk about a bit later. we work with a team of graduates and undergraduate students, and we're also the youth partners of Airbus Foundation. So we engage the youth. We obviously use our telescope at night, but also during the day. And just before COVID happened, we had set up a place. I'll talk a bit about it, but schools were able to come to us in Nairobi and learn about the sun and look at the sun. I know here we don't have a filter and we're not looking at the sun, so don't get worried. We're probably looking at a distant object at that time. But kids just love the telescope. Anytime you put, I don't know if it's because this one is really big, but let's see, maybe not necessarily so. And then, as I said, we're also the youth partners of Airbus Foundation, and we've been running a robotics program in schools. And in the last 2 years, we've reached more than 100 schools. And we go to different schools. So we go to the rural, really remote schools where kids have never even touched computers before. So they program and tell the robots what to do. They launch a rocket to Mars and learn about how space exploration has happened in the future going to Mars. So this is and we try to balance the number of girls and boys we reach so that it's at least equal or even maybe more girls in certain cases. So our main tools, we have a large portable telescope. I think it's the biggest in East Africa. We have a digital mobile planetarium, and we're in the process of completing our fixed planetarium in Nairobi. And then we have the Airbus program, which is robotics, but we also now have been running an online program with school kids during this COVID time with Airbus, and it's discovery space. So they use 3D modeling to try and design things like engineers would do. So our aim is to inspire our future generations. So with the planetarium, it's this immersive world, and kids get in and they almost feel like they're traveling through space, and it's such an awesome experience for them because the reviews we get from them, it's like they've been there. We had one kid who once said he thought that scientists used to lie to him, but having experienced space in the planetarium made it feel real, and he now felt it was a truth. So these are a few images of kids inside the planetarium. We do try and also bring them back home. Why do we look up there? Hopefully people can have a better sense of belonging and understanding and appreciation of their home planet and why they need to take care of it. But also the need for us to get leaders and our parents to play a role in protecting our environment, because it feels like we're really training the kids, which is good because they're a future generation of leaders. But we also need to talk to our parents, our teachers and everything to play a role and set an example to these kids. And sometimes the kids, like Greta has done, have been good ambassadors and good, they've driven the message home more strongly than we have as adults. And then what we want to do and want to see is that every kid would at least once in their lifetime get a lesson under the sky, maybe with a telescope, but just look up and learn physics and biology and chemistry by looking up at the stars. So this is what we've been doing before schools were closed. In schools, getting kids to look up and learn about the skies. And it's so interesting to see how many questions they have, the freedom they have learning outside, not in a classroom, and the fact that they have this star of the day, the telescope, to look at. So I think in this picture, the boy here was looking at Saturn, and there's so many questions. So we each invite one kid at a time as we talk about the sky. So we give them a tour of the night sky as they look through the telescope. We also have young professionals who serve as role models for our activities. So this is, again, the robotics program, which is run by our young professionals who the kids aspire to be in future. So we've reached more than 200 students across Kenya and Tanzania directly, and quite a number of schools. We've trained more than 100 university astronomy and physics graduates. Some of them have worked for us. We have reached 100 schools, more than 100 schools actually, with the Airbus Foundation program. It's called Little Engineers. Although it's been stopped, we are thinking of ways of how to move it to be a digital program in the coming months. We've trained guides, so this is under the astro tourism program. More than 300 guides and parks in Kenya and Tanzania, and we want to expand on that. I think because these countries, both Kenya and Tanzania, depend a lot on tourism, and astro-tourism is a good way in to promote. It's different because you're not just coming to look at the animals, but what do you do at night? And again, you wouldn't have elephants and lions without a planet, and you wouldn't have a planet without a star. So, and through our publicity, we've been featured on CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, local media, and other international media houses. We have reached millions of people. So this picture is very special. This was way before we had our big telescope, and we just started the traveling telescope, and we went to a school, and we had more than 1,000 kids waiting to look through that tiny telescope. And it was very inspiring. They're very eager and excited, and they all were just, you know, eagerly waiting. And then unfortunately it rained, so they didn't get a chance to look through the telescope. But this was how we knew there was a need for what we wanted to do. We were not just going to impose this on kids. They wanted it, they were thirsty for it. We've also worked with many lodges in Kenya and Tanzania promoting astro-tourism. And this is an image of a Kenyan Maasai, I think Maasai or Samburu, looking through the telescope, and the elephants at the back. And it was during, I think, July, August, when the Milky Way, the central band of the Milky Way is right at the center. So, and then we were also invited by the Minister of Tourism to a summit last year to talk about the possibility of selling Kenya as an astro-tourism destination. And we're excited that we've played a small part in exciting our Ministry of Tourism. We also take a lot of photos. If you visit our website or any of our social media platforms, I think you'll be entertained with the many photos we take. I don't take credit for those photos. We've also been invited to the United Nations Environment Assembly to talk about what we do. And this is a big meeting that invites environment ministers and heads of state. And for this meeting, we had two first astronauts. We had Dr. Mae Jemison, the first female African-American astronaut to go to space, and Dr. Rakesh Sharma, who is the first Indian astronaut to go to space. And then those, I can't remember his name, Fabio from Airbus, who was talking about satellite imagery and how that can be, you know, communicated back to farmers and things like that. And that was me, very intimidated by the other panelists, but very honored and excited to be part of that. So this was during the United Nations Assembly, and we were invited to, you know, try and get more of our leaders aware of the role of space exploration and astronomy in our society. What our future plans are: we have built a Nairobi bamboo planetarium, and it wasn't quite finished, so we want to make it COVID safe. So it will be open and airy. So we just want to build a screen, and then we can start inviting a few people to still enjoy the immersive experience. We also want to have an educational star safari where we take employees around to rural areas and parks, but also have them volunteer their time into schools and perhaps plant trees. We have already done this with a team from Airbus in Toulouse. And then we have been invited by Dr. Richard Leakey to take part in his plans to build an iconic museum, and he's gonna add a planetarium in it. He's donated land to us to build an outreach observatory. So it will have science arm to it, science and research, but we really want to focus on a place where we can invite members of the public to learn more about space. So this is a picture of our bamboo planetarium halfway opened, and we had girls from the Maasai community are having a day with us learning about science with the telescope, with the planetarium, and with the robotics program. And that was the end. And this is the team from Airbus with us after we've done an educational tour in schools in Amboseli. During COVID, we had to restructure. We really missed our audience and wanted to do more activities. And there was an annular eclipse, partially in Nairobi. So we had to host it via Zoom. We had a huge presence online from Facebook and Zoom. And we were able to engage the public with this activity. It was one of our biggest activities in forever. And then we also have the Cosmic Quiz, which is a program where we ask questions via Zoom with a buzzer where people buzz in their answers. And we have participants from all over the world. One of our favorite participants is a young Indian boy who always comes for the Cosmic Quiz. And we do also bring in the art, bring in songs, and there's so many songs that have astronomy. These are pictures from the Cosmic Quiz, very global audience, and it was really trying to bring in families. So you'd have young kids, some with their parents, all trying to answer questions, competing with, astronomers from South African Large Telescope, which was fun. So I'd just like to leave you with one of the songs we did during the eclipse. This was a way for us to engage with the younger audience. So we filmed the song with our kids at home. Hopefully you'll enjoy it, and I hope it will play well.
Hang on, just before we start, I'm happy to just do... just let us know if you hear the sound.
Yeah, here's birds on.
The sun. I'm a hot pepper, hot pepper. I'm a hot pepper, hot pepper. I'm waiting for the sun to disappear. I'm waiting for the day to turn to night. I'm waiting for the moon to cover up the sky and dark out the sky. Some people go all around the world. They want to know what it's all about. Some people put it fantastic for us before we figure it out. When the moon is near, when you see the sun disappear, it's gone away. It's not big enough to run away. If you look up on the 21st of June, and if you're under the shadow of the moon, you see a bright way. That's the night light. That's the night light. Things changing, there's an eclipse going on. Let's see when it's a final out day.
Just get in the way.
It's a Sunday day. See the sun disappear. It's not big enough to block the rain. If you look up on the 21st of June, and if you're under the shadow of the moon, you see on the 21st of June. And if you're under the shadow of the moon, you'll see a burning ring.
So we've had many partners in the beginning now, and we're looking forward to collaborating with so many people I know would like to start working on robotic programs with school kids. Here we've done the International Asteroid Search Campaign with Dr. Patrick Miller previously in schools, and we'd like to resume that. So if you'd like to get in touch with us, please feel free, mail us, visit our website, get in touch on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And if I have time to answer a few questions.
Susan, you're pretty much out of time, I'm afraid. There are loads and loads of comments going through the chat. Everybody loved that. There was no way at all I was going to jump in the middle of your musical activity, but we're pretty much out of time for you, but I'm sure there will be other people throwing questions at the Q&A. Thank you very much for that. That was incredible. Some of the, I guess, improvisation, the idea of using bamboo is not something that would occur to me for sure. And this idea of having tourism, some sort of ecologically sustainable tourism where you get people to Kenya bringing their money with them, but in manageable amounts of people, and showing them the sights of your country is fantastic. Thank you very much.